I would personally like to welcome you guys to the first installment of whatever we're going to call this podcast. Eventually, we got a couple of glorious guys here that are interested in gaming, different categories. We're all currently playing World of Warcraft. Looking forward to the Wrath of the Lich King. Thank you for tuning in, being here, and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining us. So would you like to introduce yourselves? We can start with Flamestrike. Go ahead, good sir.
Yeah, everybody. Flamestryketv. You guys should know me by now. I'm a small streamer, do mostly World of Warcraft Classic, and happy to be here. Hope you guys enjoyed the show.
And go ahead, Storm.
Okay, and I'm Stormphrax. You can see me at Stormphraxtv here on Twitch, as well as Stormphrax on YouTube. I'm a very tinier streamer than even Flamestrike. We're streaming Warcraft Classic, and we're also doing other games in the future.
And our old man Alodar in the corner.
Hi everyone, I'm Alodad, Alodar, and you can catch me at twitch.tv/Alodar. You can get links to my YouTube and stuff like that there as well. And generally, just play MMOs. Actually, I only play MMOs, to be honest. I don't play any other games. And I'm an avid fan of other nerdy things like Game of Thrones, Star Wars, etc., etc. So.
Absolutely welcome, guys. Good to have everybody here. A couple things we're going to talk about today. The biggest thing on our subject matter is Wrath of the Lich King is coming up. We are in the preparation stages. The pre-patch is coming on it's the 30th, correct? And then we have the actual launch of the game, or the relaunch of the classic game, on the 26th of September. So right now, I mean, I guess I would ask you guys, like, what are you guys doing in preparation for Wrath? Right now, we don't have access to the pre-patch content, but we do have, the knowledge that's coming. So what kind of things have you guys been doing to specifically prepare for or get ready for what's going to be happening with Wrath? And again, feel free to, that's our panel here. Feel free to speak up and talk over each other, and we'll sort it as it goes.
Okay. I'll jump in first. I thought like a couple months ago that I was getting more than prepared for Wrath. It wasn't until I started watching a bunch of videos from really good creators like Willie and stuff like that, where they were showing all the things that need to be done. And suddenly I'm at a point now where we're like a month or 5 weeks away, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, damn, there's all this stuff that I suddenly need to do. So I went through a horrible phase. Well, not a horrible phase, but I went through a phase where my guild is now wanting to go a little bit more hardcore than we were in TBC or in Classic. We are really looking to amp up our raids, and specifically with that, I decided that I was going to not just talk the talk, but I went and re-rolled a mage to be troll, because I had 3 level 70 mages at the point, but they were all undead, so I wanted the troll racial. So I rolled up a troll 1 to 70 just for the racial, and 2 days later Blizzard announced they were going to allow race changes once I was done. So I was a little annoyed by that. Then I was watching a video, I think it was by Willie or Scotty J or something like that, and realized, I think it was Willie, but you can get a 2-piece set from Nax for mages, and if you wanted to get that, you could go into a old Nax group and actually still get it. But one of the mages.
Are you talking about the Innervate bonus?
Yeah. So yeah. I had cleared Nax many times on one of my mages, but it wasn't the troll mage that I'd already leveled up. And because I was like, okay, well, whatever, I've already leveled up this troll, so now I'm just gonna play the undead mage that I should have played all along, and going to just use that set bonus, and then I'll use the race change once it becomes available. But now I'm trying to do like lore master and all this other crap, and I'm trying to get this all done in that time. So
you're looking for that tier 3 bonus, and the reason that that's so important right now is you've only got, what is it? We're looking at like 2 more lockouts until old school 40-man Nax goes away forever, correct?
Yeah, it's I mean, I probably maybe could have got it, but I've already got an undead mage, and it's the undead mage that I've already got, that I've cleared all the content with anyways. So I want to be able to have one character that I've cleared all the content with anyways. So, and it's actually a pretty insane set bonus for when you're clearing trash and stuff like that. And there was just no doubt that I had to basically roll with the undead mage until they give me race change.
Yeah, that's a huge grab, and that's something for everybody, you guys that are out there listening and watching. Knowing that that's going to go away. So if you're trying to collect yourself like a Corrupted Ashbringer, or you're rounding out a tier 3 set from the original 40-man content, those things are going to be gone in about 2 weeks as of the recording of this episode here. So that's something that you definitely want to look at in your preparations. Have you done anything else specifically, or is that basically just trying to get your mages and your ducks in a row for your big push here for the PvE content coming up?
That's pretty much. I mean, I wanted more time to farm more gold and stuff like that. I've got about 25,000 gold, but I wanted more, and I wanted maybe to go for the insane title. But for the 2 titles, you'll be able to work on that during Wrath. So um, I'm probably going to shelf that for a little bit. And I've also got a paladin that I started leveling up because, as you guys may or may not know, I have 11 tailors in TBC. So my way of making gold is just by using my tailoring cooldowns. But apparently in Wrath of the Lich King, the very last patch, they put in no cooldowns for tailoring. So there's no point in having 11 tailors, and because there's no cooldowns, you're not going to make any gold off of it anyways, because it's going to be just... So my 11 tailors are basically worthless at this point. So I'm leveling up a paladin to use that as my gold farming tune.
That's a huge point to get there as well, is that with the cooldowns being removed, the supply and demand of all those available resources is now completely upset and turning into something different, where you've now made that all of, like you said, those guys not as valuable to you anymore. What about Flamestorm? What about you guys? Have you taken any time to specifically dedicate in preparation before the pre-patch is dropped?
Yeah, so I will be playing a Feral Druid, Feral Kitty in Wrath. I have just making some money. I've also gotten 25 quests done on my Kitty, so ideally day 1 Wrath launches, I'll just turn all those in and hit 71 within like an hour or so. Other than that, it's just been finding out what my pre-raid bis is, figuring out the rotation, kind of doing some research into that. Bloody hell, it is thundering. Anyways, other than that, it is it's just I haven't done like a whole lot outside of that, just getting my one main character ready. One thing I would bounce off what Alodar was saying as well, the ZA bear mount is also going away with pre-patch, so you have like a week to get that, and then that goes away as well. And outside of that, that's about it. I've also been leveling up several characters. I've got my Shaman 270. He's gonna be my main alchemy guy because Potion Master is great for money making. I have my Paladin at level 70. He's going to be my Gatherer because Paladins are actually technically better than Druids, because both with the Crusader aura and the reduced cast time on your mounts, Paladins actually make for better gathering profession people, so mining, herbalism, etc. Those specifically. And then I'll also have my Death Knight. I will be leveling really hard during pre-patch because that's going to be my main off person. Anyways, I can use words. And yeah, that's it. That's about it.
Have any of you guys looked at changing professions for what's happening with Wrath? I know that a lot of the available things that are there are gonna be more beneficial as Wrath comes. For instance, a lot of people are going with jewel crafting for the extra gem slots and that kind of stuff, and or people that are looking at, we have the new profession, inscription, which a lot of people are going to be pairing herbalism with inscription, because those two go hand in hand with your gathering and your milling of the herbs to get your inks and your different things like that. What about you, Flame? Are you going to be doing anything with inscription, or have you done specific preparations?
Well, I've done this a long time ago, guys, and this time around, I'm actually looking at it from a different perspective. I'm looking at it from almost like a first-time player. I just want to have fun, and you know me, I'm a big leveler. I love to level. I love to enjoy the content and go through each area and through the quest chains and stuff like that. I do want to raid, so I'm definitely going to be getting my main prepped. I am going ret, so I'm going to level with Doc's DK. We're going to try to do some dungeon spamming, I hope. Maybe some PvP. That would be awesome to try. But for me, it's all about just enjoying the content, going through each zone and seeing it again, like I haven't seen it in a long time. And I will get, my tier eventually. I can't wait for Wintergrass, to be honest. I can't wait for Wintergrass, Instance Wintergrass. That's going to be awesome. and that's about it. Just going through, enjoying it, and obviously I'll have like 11 alts like I always do. Each one will have a different profession, but I'll have to do the meta. I'll have to go with the Druid crafting engineering meta to start on my main. But everything else, I think I'll just play it by ear, and we'll see how it goes.
Gotcha. I mean, that's the thing too. As far as like the things I've been doing to prepare, looking at the changes and what's upcoming. Excuse me. I've added a druid to the repertoire of characters that I'm leveling, and one of the reasons is it's going to be able to have for gathering. You're going to be able to get your flight form actually trained right from the trainer now for a fee, but you do have to have the appropriate flight skill purchased in order to do that. And I'm going to be using them as a gathering tune and taking advantage of those benefits. The other thing is, I think it's huge, is right now, if you're out there playing and you're just getting yourself ready, a huge thing you do is literally just start stockpiling gold. There's going to be so many things that are coming available for the for gold expenses when the pre-patch drops. Getting into the pre-patch itself, there's going to be you're going to have your inscription ready. So people can start working on that. So if you haven't started gathering materials for that, that's another huge thing you can do, is gather materials for professions. If you're going to be making the DK, looking at lining up, what are your choices? What professions are you going with? Get those as ready as you can. If you're planning to do that kind of thing, or if you're going to take a more leisurely route, obviously you don't have to do that. I personally am using that druid I'm leveling as a gatherer to be able to get those materials for the Death Knight, hand him over, get his professions, boosted as high as I can. But in doing so, hoping to make some of that extra coin too. I haven't really been spending a lot of it waiting to the pre-patch, because you're going to have ways to save money right here. Is your mount costs are going to go down with the pre-patch. You're going to be able to get your epic riding for less. You're going to be able to get your flying and stuff for less. And if you're in that window right now, leveling a tune, getting ready, I would just hold off. You've got about another, a week? What are we at? A week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that, till we have those reduced costs and things. And the same thing, if you're going to be doing inscription with that coming out, that's going to be huge. There's a big potential for a moneymaker when the pre-patch drops, because everybody out of the gate is that's level capped is going to have they're going to have their 3 minors and 2 major inscriptions available right at the get-go. So if you're going to be a person making inscriptions, that's a great opportunity to make money right there. So if you've got your stuff lined up, your ducks in a row, you can do that. And like I said, part of the reason you want to get this money is there's a lot of things you're going to be able to have here. At level 40, dual spec is going to be available, and that should be available in the pre-patch. And once the pre-patch also is going to be bringing in a couple of new skills too, where you're looking at or weapons, I should say, for certain classes. Weapon skills are a big thing. Do we got any rogue players in our group here?
No.
No.
I play rogues.
Play
I mean, I
rogues?
don't main them now, but I do play them.
I haven't done one since I did my my PvP guy on Season of Mastery, which was a whole experience in itself. If you guys have followed my journey there, that's been.
Oh yeah.
1 second, I need to look at my mic here. The journey with my rogue, either way, they have access to axes now as weapons. And when you get that, when you go to your weapons trainer, it's important to remember that that's going to start at weapon skill 1. So in the pre-patch, that will be available to train, is my understanding. Getting that trained, and then what do you got to do once you get it trained? You guys know this. You know this. You got to level it up. You got to level up the skills.
Yeah, level up your weapon skill, of course.
What about you? If you guys are doing weapon skills, do you go out and just swing it in a dungeon, or what do you guys do for your skilling up?
Me personally, I head down to the Blasted Lands and beat on those mobs, the crystals there. Unless they nerf those now, I don't know. But I usually end up down there.
I just started something lower level than me that won't like kill me as I just whack away at it. And I might just like run away, heal up, come back, keep whacking at it, and it just go on from there.
Yeah, I do the same as Storm as well. I just kind of get it up to the point where you're close enough to your max level, and then finish it off in dungeons or something.
Yeah, the nice mention, we're talking about Blasted Lands. My understanding is through some of, and this is secondhand information, I did a lot of reading and watching in the last few days, and I don't remember exactly where it came from, but they're talking about the ability to do a weapon skill up on immune mobs, and that mobs that are categorized as immune will no longer actually work for the weapon skills. But I do believe like the ogres in Dire Maul North around the King should work. and I think the Blasted Land mobs work, but not like a banished mob. And that one I wasn't 100% sure on. And chat's telling me that it might not be available, or might not work on the ones in Blasted Lands. However, the target dummies, I was told in the
They do not work.
Yeah, they do not work. So you can't
Yeah,
just
they
go sit
don't,
at the
yep.
target dummy for those skill ups. But just a side note there. I mean, that's a big thing that once the pre-patch drops, Rogues, that's something you guys want to pay attention to. You're going to make all of your weapon options available to you, and make sure you have your skills capped out where you want them to be for that. And another little side note is Druids. If you're playing a Druid, make sure you get pole arms. You can train it. You don't need to worry about the weapon skill so much, but training it and having that that weapon skill available to you is going to be a benefit. You can select some different weapon options there as you go forward. Oh, and a side note too. I'm sorry, I'm looking back at this to jump. Another huge thing, and I think someone in chat said this too, was the inscriptions. Is being able to make the cards. You can make the cards for the Dark Moon
bank.
Tournaments.
Like
Yeah,
absolute bank.
Yeah, those are supposed to be massive. I don't remember those at all. Like, this is my old school dad brain. Did any of you guys remember grabbing those decks or doing anything like that back in the day?
I
No,
never did.
Yeah, I did.
Uh,
Greatness cards and I forget the name of the card, the Self Resurrect card. Those decks are awesome, by the way. Really good to have. Blue Dragon, I think, was one of them as well.
Greatness is BIS for most classes.
Yep.
And what does that one do, Storm? Do you know offhand?
I do not. I can Google it super quick though.
Yeah, it's been for years. I can't remember. I think it's some kind of bonus to damage or something like that.
Is that the one that increases your stats by a huge amount?
No,
I don't remember
that,
procs, so
that's
I came across some of them in
All right.
reading.
It gives plus 90 agility as well as equip. When you heal or deal damage, you have a chance to gain greatness, increasing your strength, agility, intellect, or spirit by 300 for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Your highest stat is always chosen. Proc chance 35%, 45-second cooldown.
Excellent.
Yeah,
so
that
it
thing
is the one that gives
procs
you
all
huge
the time
stats.
too. Huge.
Yep.
Very nice. It's kind of like almost like an extra mongoose there, depending on how you stat your character. That's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
sweet.
Yep.
Well,
the other good thing is the self-res card. A lot of priests end up using that, I guess, when they're in raids, because I guess soul stones are at a premium, I think, and not everybody gets one, so people like to have that as well.
Yeah, those are going to go for a hot fucking minute on the auction
Yeah.
house.
For sure.
Like 10k plus easily. So ideally what you want to do is you want to find a guildie that has inscription and then just funnel mats to him, and that's how you get your Dark Moon card. Don't buy it off the auction house if you can avoid it. You could probably save a good bit of money.
on the cards.
I think they were talking about how much the greatness card was going to go for, and people were guessing in like the tens of thousands of gold. So
Oof.
I think originally, if I remember, it was like 8 to 10K back in the day.
Yeah.
Now it's probably going to go 20K, man. I can see it being super expensive.
I've heard even higher than that.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. You know, it's like that card is the difference between BIS and not being BIS. You know, average and excellent.
Yep.
Oh yes, so that's definitely it's going to be a highly sought after item, and with the price tag on it like that, to me personally, that's again another reason why stacking your gold in advance. Which again, you've got a short period of time to start working on that. Those cards, I don't know when or how quickly people will be able to get those out on the market, but you know, you still got some time till the actual Wrath content does drop. So I would stack up those dollars in piles of gold. Boys and girls. In addition to that, you're also going to have a couple other, you know, big expenses, right? At level 40 for 1,000 gold, which this will be in the pre-patch as well. You're going to be able to get what's everybody looking forward to?
Dual spec.
Dual spec. Yep.
Absolutely. That's going to be huge. Do you guys feel like that's something that's going to be a big benefit to you for your particular classes, or is that something
That's
just kind
something.
of...
That's something they should have added back in Classic. I'm calling it. All right. They should have added that back in Classic Vanilla.
No, absolutely not.
What?
Yeah, no.
Absolutely not, dude. You go play retail with that crap.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
chance.
Classic.
I think
What?
I think it has a time and a
spec?
place. Yeah, dual spec has a time and a place, and I think Wrath is the proper place for it. Even
They
in
should have had it
TBC,
here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, what I think the big draw is going to be for people that want to tank and heal. You know, that's going to be the huge draw. Me, I have 2 hunters that I'm going to be leveling. I mean, one is going to be one is a troll, one is an orc, and everybody's like, "Why are you rolling multiple hunters?" I'm like, "Well, I like to play different hunters in different ways." You know, And switching specs, you're not always best by switching specs, right? So troll is better with a bow, hunter is better with a orc is better with a gun, and so forth. So, I mean, I just like to have multiple tunes, just in case I want to do
Sure.
PvP or I want to do PvE. You know,
I would argue though that the racial differences are, I mean, they're definitely less than they were in vanilla, but in TBC they're almost minimalized. So if you're just saving so much time, money. Like let's say you're somebody like a paladin, right? Instead of leveling 3 paladins, you could just, or 2, let's just say 2, right? Because dual spec, you could have 1 paladin that can tank or heal, and you're not that's not this annoying gold sink. You just get in, get out, and it's just somebody needs you to tank, great, I'll just switch specs, go, and it's so much more convenient. And I think it's something they could have changed and nobody would have complained, personally.
yeah, but
They
are you
need
still
it-
talking
you
about
need
dual?
it-
Go ahead, Alan.
You need a gold sink though. Well, I mean, in classic, anyways,
Mhm.
I mean, they obviously need a gold sink in Wrath too, because like the amount of gold people have is getting way too out of control.
Sure,
they
but
don't
50 gold, it's like, eh.
Well, in Wrath is not a problem, but in classic, yeah, it's there for a reason. I mean, I mean, it's just, I think it's absolutely necessary in classic. It's just, I mean, it's part of the game. It encourages you to play the one spec and not be constantly switching back and forth every 30 minutes. If you have to switch specs twice a week, it's not a big deal. It's 100 gold. I mean, you can make 100 gold in 15 minutes and earn 20 minutes or whatever in vanilla. It's not that big of a deal. If you don't know how to make 50 gold to pay for your respec, I mean, that the problem is you, not the game.
Yeah, one quest, boom, there's your
Well,
money.
Here's an interesting
quite.
thing that do you guys think the original intention, did they intend people to be switching specs like that all the time, or intend for people to be changing their their entire talent tree once, twice a week all the time? Is that something you think that they intended with the classic design?
Back in the day, no. They wanted people to say like the one spec. I just don't think that really holds up in today's standards.
I think the big problem with the dual spec thing is people change, not the game. So the game wants you to play a specific way, but people are into, I need to do it now. So instead of going and swapping specs or doing something like that, they basically want to play the game they want to play at that time. So if you want to tank or if you want to heal, you can just swap back and forth. Okay, I like the fact that they put gold in to do it. Because remember back in the day, you used to be able to swap spec, I think, in any major town, if I'm not mistaken. It's been so long, I forgot. But I think it's actually good because it's going to stop people just from spamming, spamming back and forth.
I don't think
It's going to make you play your class. Well, that's why I plan to have multiple tunes, so I don't have to worry about that option.
I mean, I personally feel that the having dual spec is a nice option, right? Because I always hated paying the money for the respec. I'm like, I don't want to pay the money. I'm just gonna run around as a protection potato and then complain that I'm terrible at PvP. But like, I just hated doing it. It was just something like I was personally extremely averse to just dumping money into that. But like, I think as Alodar said, I mean, it does make a good gold dump, and everybody in there was rotating around for all kinds of variety of reasons. But something I look forward to is like I said, the dual spec. There's going to be another huge item to touch on real quick. That's a big opportunity for people to dump a chunk of gold. Excuse me. I passed over cold flying. Cold flying is another one. It's not too big of an expense, but you're talking another about 1,000 gold there, and that's something that becomes available to all players at 77. So right off the bat, if you're moving into Wrath, what are you looking at? You're like 2,000 gold right there, bare minimum.
Yep.
Not including other things like you're going to be adding your subscriptions. You're going to be because if you're not making them, you're buying them.
And this is per character. This is per character as well that you got to pay that. So you need to have more than a couple thousand gold.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing is that comes available is the Dalaran ring, which has a teleport to Dalaran. Even if you don't wear it for the stats, and they're supposed to be very, very good for a lot of the classes, that's another huge thing. And those are starting out at about 8,500 gold, if my research tells me correctly.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And last but not least, like the Mammoth Mount, that's 20,000 gold. If you're gonna go for that, I mean, what do you guys think on the 16? Well, that's
16
with rep.
with exalted.
With
yeah.
rep, right?
Yeah.
20,000 without the rep, And what are you guys thinking about that? Are you guys going to be trying to pick that bad boy up?
I don't have the gold
And
right
it-
now, but eventually, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Initially, no, because everybody and their dog will have one that is that does end game raiding. So all you got to do is stand outside of a raid, and you'll be able to get your repairs or whatever you want there.
Yeah.
But eventually, I will get it. Yeah.
Excellent. During the pre-patch event, there's a couple things that become available for limited times. So again, this will be coming up in about a week. You guys will be able to go after this. They have an item that doesn't strike true to me. I never liked the Piccolo. I don't really care for the animated those items, but they do have, and a lot of people like this one, the Arcane Ripper, right? That's becomes available from a boss that spawns in only in the pre-patch period in Karazhan.
In Karazhan. Yep.
And you guys can get that. And what that is it's the axe that works as an actual guitar, like an axe, like a rock band, so you can rock out with the effect.
I'm getting that.
You're gonna get it?
Yeah, I have it already.
I'm getting that.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking getting that.
Yeah. I got it back in original, and I loved it. So I'm gonna get it again for sure.
That, the pet, everything.
What makes you want to get it so bad?
It's just cool. I get to turn into an undead, just mega metal monster. Like, hell yeah.
I think for me, it's more about something that not everybody's going to get. You know, it's one of those rare items that people, even to this day, for example, on the character that I have it under, like, I wish I'd gotten that. You know, I wish I'd gotten that. It's one of those things that's super easy to get, and if you don't get it, you're kicking yourself for not getting it.
There's also Tabard of the Argent Dawn that is only available during pre-patch. They can get.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It's the same as the one that you get for going through the dark portal, pretty much. It's identical looking, just a different effect, I think.
I'm going to be doing Karazhan on my undead mage that I'm now playing, and if I get Arcane Reaper, I'll get it then.
Nice.
The that was
Also
one thing I wasn't
Brewfest.
sure about on that tabard, because I was debating whether I wanted to try to get that or not. I'm not big at collecting that stuff, but that's another item to sound off that is definitely going to be only available.
It's pretty much a given, Doc. 80 spirit shards, I think it costs, or whatever those scourge stones or whatever they are for the event. You spend 80 of those, you'll have 80 of those the first day. I mean, it's not going to be that hard. Yeah.
And a lot of you guys are probably familiar with the Scourge Invasion event. It's where they're spawning around. There's spawn points around the world that spawn in different ghouls and NPCs, and you collect the drops that they have and can turn them in for different rewards. And
Familiar with it, never experienced it.
Yeah,
I lived that. I lived it.
And one of you guys mentioned a pet that becomes available.
Yeah, there's two pets. One of them is like a little mini bat, and then another is maybe a toy, but it's like a Blood Elf Paladin comes out, and then she like bubble hearths, and it's like this cool little thing you can get during the pre-patch.
She defends you. Yeah, I think that's like a trinket or something. I forget. Yeah. But she'll basically fight for you for like 60 seconds and then bubble hearth away, and you're left with all the mobs on your own.
So that would be cool. I think you also get that the bat pet in Kara, I believe.
Yeah, in Kara. Yeah, it drops.
The vampiric bat. Chad's got the name for us. Thank you guys.
Yep.
So this was an interesting thing I looked at again during the pre-patch segment here. We have this current writing 50% bonus XP, which is going to be available up until the actual drop of the Wrath content. And on the fresh server, it'll be active until that same time frame, I believe. I think that's what it was. But it's interesting. They're giving us that right now in the pre-patch time frame. But when the Wrath content drops, if you look at the levels, my understanding is that the 60 to 70 XP levels scale down again, where they're losing something like 30 to 40% XP.
Yep.
So there is a slight advantage right now to that 50%, I think, to spending time leveling tunes right now, but
up to 60.
Up to 60?
Yeah.
Up to 60, yeah.
Then pre-patch is when you get the massive squish of 60 to 70 in Outland.
Yes.
So if you're trying to level a character now, you can level it to try and get it to 60 before pre-patch hits, and then wait till pre-patch, and then have a much easier time from 60 to 70.
Yeah, that's what I did with my Paladin. I got her to 60, just sitting there waiting, and as soon as pre-patch drops, we're going to hopefully go 60 to 70 in a day or two. That'd be awesome.
Very nice. Here's another one that I discussed it out a little bit earlier, and I think this is a point of contention for people that are out there in the community. Whether some people are super in favor of it, some people don't like it, and some people think it's the greatest thing ever. You know, there's like a mix of everything, and in between is the dungeon finder changes. What do you guys think about that? So real quick though, is the original dungeon finder, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is Alodar, it was that you could queue up and it would take you there, and it's
You could queue up. You could queue up. It would take you there, and then you got a bonus to XP and a gold bonus for, I believe, like your first dungeon of the day or something like that. So it would help. It was a big XP chunk as well. So it would actually help people. Now I'm not sure with the new dungeon finder if you get the XP bonus, but I know you don't get teleported and you don't get the gold either.
There's also an item bonus with the first one, I believe.
Yeah.
No.
like your first daily when you queue up for
Yeah.
a random.
Yep.
So what do you guys think on that? Like, lay it on me. I want to hear some analysis from the expert minds.
Well, I understand what they were going for, and we'll see how well it's implemented and how well people actually use it. However, from what I've seen and how it's kind of worked out on regular retail, it seems like it's analogous to what people are already using with the was it the LFG add-on everybody uses that just kind of
Community.
organizes the gallery, whatever the hell's called. The gallery add-on that just organizes the LFG chat into just, you can see it all. And so it's like there's not much difference. Almost, I would say, you're more efficient using the add-on, because then you just post once in LFG chat and then just brings it up into the add-on and you're all good instead of having to scroll through, a list of a bajillion groups. I mean, we also lose the XP, we lose the item. It's just way less convenient for leveling, which, I mean, some people are going to hate that, some people aren't. I'm kind of in the middle, like, we're losing it. It kind of sucks, because I do enjoy leveling alts and just that ease of, I'm just going to queue up for a dungeon, and I can keep leveling, keep questing, and then just, boom, it pops, and I'm in the dungeon, and let's just go, right? And ideally, those people who are in with me in the dungeon are people who are within the same realm, so there's kind of, it's incentivized to work with them, treat them well. It's not like retail where you're getting people from some other realm you'll never see again in your entire life. So I'm okay. I would be completely fine if they just added regular dungeon finder, just keep it within the realm. I think it would be completely fine. But we'll see how this works. I'm not really too sus about it either way. Whatever, we'll find out. But that's kind of my thoughts about how it might play out in the future.
Hold on. If I could have my way, Wrath or whatever would be absolutely zero changes. Part of the reason why there was such a big movement to bring back Classic WoW to begin with was people wanted to play the game as it was before, just like the hooded kid said at BlizzCon, right? If there's any chance that they would bring back the game as it was before, that's kind of what I'd like to see. I'd like to be able to experience the game and all the content that I never got to do and actually be able to finish it playing the game the way it is now. And I always hear this argument, well, there's people that are, players are way better, the raids are too easy, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But there's, that's all part of it. Like, we know Molten Core is easy, but I still looked like I finished Molten Core back in original Classic or in original Vanilla. I wanted to play Molten Core again. I could not wait to get into Molten Core again. I wanted to play the game exactly the way as it was. I know this topic was brought up, or topics like this were brought up for Classic when it was first announced. People were flipping out about, are they going to have the token?
Yeah.
Are they going to have this? Are they going to have that? And people were like really on Blizzard's case to have it as true to Classic as possible. Now, of course, we didn't get exactly that. We didn't get itemization done properly, stuff like that. And some of it they actually reneged on. Like, they originally had just 4 phases that they were going to have, and then they changed it to 6 because a lot of the big streamers started making points that, hey, you can't have these items in Dire Maul coming out at the same time as this and all this other stuff. As far as the dungeon finder, which is what Docken brought up, I don't have a problem with the change that they've made. And I know that's hypocritical to what I said about I want to have no changes. And the reason why I don't have a particular problem with this, I wouldn't have a problem if they would have just left it, if they would have made everything else no changes as well, but they haven't done that. The reason I don't like the Dungeon Finder tool is specifically for one thing, is it teleports people to the instance. You don't actually have to travel through the world, and it makes the world look dead. There's none of that interaction that you get when you're traveling to and from an instance. None of those chance PvP encounters or anything like that, and it's suddenly not really a role-playing game. You're not role-playing. You're just kind of teleporting everywhere. I mean, what's next? I mean, I don't doubt that eventually Blizzard's going to have a teleportation to the mobs that you need to kill in quests. Like, why would they stop at just dungeons? Why not just teleport you to exactly where you need to do the quest? Let's just skip all the traveling through the world and all the interaction and stuff like that. I don't like the Dungeon Finder for that one particular thing. So it sounds like they're redoing Dungeon Finder and just getting rid of the teleportation crap. And there's a lot of people out there that don't like having to travel through the world. And I asked them, it's like, why are you playing a role playing, like a MMORPG? Like, that's part of playing the game. If you just want to teleport to everything, I mean, I don't know, you're not interacting with anyone else in the game. Get a single player game. Bard's Tale is great. Like, you can really find a lot of other role playing games when you don't have to interact with anyone. So I don't like the teleportation feature of it, but the rest of the Dungeon Finder I don't really have a problem with.
I kind of agree with that. Like, as far as the tool existing, I don't have a problem with the tool existing. Something I've never personally been a fan of is exactly what you're saying. Features that remove the player from the world environment from one location to the next, right? That I just kind of like you said, it takes away from the world itself. It's just funneling people away from running into each other or seeing battles out in the world, or even if it's not a PvP encounter, you're running by and you see some guy that you've grouped with 2 or 3 times trying to finish an elite quest, and you're like, oh man, you just run over and help him finish the mob off or something like that. I think it just adds a whole aspect to the game that you can't get any other way than by getting people through the world via travel.
If you talk to a lot of the old school players that played from vanilla all the way through to whatever version of retail they played, a lot of people like would say, okay, Kata was the beginning of the end, but a lot of people will actually say the middle part of Wrath was. And the exact point where they're pointing to is when Dungeon Finder came in, because it came in halfway through Wrath. Technically, it was actually the last major patch. That patch just lasted a really, really long time. It wasn't supposed to be that long. So it came in halfway through Wrath, and a lot of players look at that as the point where the game really started to lose a lot of its interest. And then Cataclysm, when they just expedited all that crap. So, but a lot of players that you talk to, a lot of streamers or players that have been around for ages, they'll pinpoint that point in Wrath where Dungeon Finder came into effect, and that they started to notice that the world was less lively and not as active and not as fun. So.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree with Alodar. For me, playing the game the way it was meant to be played is a big thing. And all you guys know, I give a hard time to everybody that plays the game the way it's not meant to be played. And I think the teleporting to instances, like you said, killed the social aspect of this game. And even to today, on retail, if you join a group finder and you join a group, you get teleported in, nobody says a word to you, the dungeon ends and everybody's gone. So that social aspect is dead. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like retail today. However, in Classic, like I said, I'm a big leveler. I love exploring the world. I love looking for groups, like looking for Skola or looking for, Dire Maul, whatever, and spending time actually meeting the people and talking to them while you're traveling to the dungeon. And then from there, you get to know those people again because they're on your realm, and you get to develop like a little bit of a friendship. And those people from time to time, you'll invite back to your groups and so forth because, hey, that guy's a great tank, or hey, this person's a great healer, or a good DPS or whatever. Exactly. And that's the way the game was meant to be played, in my opinion. So that's why I think middle of Wrath, like Alodar said, is when the game started to fall apart for me. So the non-teleportation with the group finder, I really like that because you still have to travel the world and you still have to explore and you still have to enjoy the game the way it's meant to be played. And a lot of people have lost that aspect of it. So for me, because I'm a big leveler, I explore every zone again, and I very nostalgic when I go through places like Grizzly Hills, and you go into Ice Crown for the first time. It's an amazing experience, and don't miss it by just teleporting to dungeons. It's ridiculous.
I think another point that Dungeon Finder brings in, I might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it automatically forms your group for you, so
Yeah.
you can't say no to a person or something like that. Like I think you have to have like all 4 other people in your group like vote to kick them out or something like
I think
that.
it's 3, but yeah.
Yeah, you have to pick a role. You pick a role when you join the Finder, like a DPS or a tank heal, whatever you want. And then if that person doesn't fit your group, they vote kick, which I don't like either.
Is that something that's actually implemented for Wrath? I didn't remember this either. I know this was a retail thing right now, but this isn't Wrath.
I think it was an original Wrath of Lich King. Yeah,
Yeah, it came in near the end. Yeah.
You were automatically given a group, basically. Like you didn't have a choice to reject somebody. It was just here's a Ret Paladin that's joined your group type of thing. And I don't like that at all, because it forces you to play with people that you don't think are a great fit for your group, or maybe just maybe you're just somebody that doesn't like whatever. Pick a insert class here. You don't have that choice, and a lot of players are like, "Oh, I hate that aspect of the game. I don't like the fact that people are so elitist and blah blah blah." And it's like, listen, I didn't force you to choose a crappy spec or a crappy class. Like, that's not my problem. Why should I have to deal with it? Like, you chose to play X class knowing that this was going to be a problem for your class. Why should I have to be forced to drag you along through an instance? Like, forget that.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. You end up with that oddball guy that's like, he's signed up as a DPS and he's got half his points in this tree. He's got 7 points in healing and he's got those other points over here, and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, Ret Paladin signs up to be a tank.
And it's a shame. To say that.
I think you can only select the roles based on the points that you have in the talent tree. So if you don't have more points in Prot than you do in Ret, I don't think it'll let you actually even. I'm not sure, but maybe
actually,
I would argue
the original Wrath, it wasn't like that, Alodar. You could pick whatever you wanted. If you were a plate wearer that could tank, you could do it.
Because here's an example, right? Everybody originally Frost was DK tanking, but everybody's saying Blood is DK tank now. So if they consider Blood a DPS, and you want to go in as a tank, and like you can't select tank because you're Blood, like it would have to let you queue as varied role or varied specs, because you'll end up in a position where a min-max setup is more efficient than what the Finder thinks.
Fury Prot, cough.
Yeah, something like that, So I don't think that would work if that was the way it is, and if that's the way it is, they need to fix it, in my opinion. But again, I don't know, and I don't know if that's. But that was just to speak.
I think it originally was based on what you chose. So if you chose to tank, you could actually join as a tank, even though you were DPS.
Yeah, I think that's why they had the option, and where you could actually kick people out of the raid if you wanted to. If they didn't fit the rule, they lied about it or whatever, you could just boot them out.
Yeah, but it takes 3 people, minimum 3 people to vote them out. And if you have one person that doesn't want to vote them out, the vote fails and you're stuck with them.
I'm just reading chat here. Like, you get this guy, he's an enhancement shaman, comes in. He's like, yeah, I'm a healer. Just jumps in the group and tries his best, hoping that he can squeak by, and you end up with a mess. Oh,
I mean, it's different though if you make the group yourself, like in TBC. You have like, hey, I'm enhanced. Like, I can just like brawl some shit, see if we can like scuff our way through it. But that's fine, because like then you signed up for it, right? But not like in the Dungeon Finder, where it's like you're just stuck with this asshole who just like did this trolly thing.
You're not in the mood to scuff your way through, and you end up with like a mishmash, mix match group. Whereas if it was your friend or your dungeon buddy you run with all the time, and you're like, oh, come on, man, you didn't respec, or you didn't switch your spec, you're just doing something stupid, and you deal with it because he's your friend, and you're like, whatever. But to get it when you're, look, I just want to get in here, get my stuff, get it done, get the daily, whatever it is, and then this is the guy you end up with. That could be a problem, I guess you could see, but at least they do have a tool to deal with it. It's just a matter of convincing the rest of the group to vote in a certain manner because of that.
Well, I think the worst part about it is also if you have 2 people, say, that are friends, and they join your group, and you're trying to vote kick this one guy because he came in as DPS and you need a tank, and his friend says, no, you're stuck. So what do you have to do? You have to disband the group and then redo it again.
Yep.
So I think it's better off just to eliminate that completely and say, okay, I pick you and you and you because I know who you are and I know you know how to play the game. Even if you're DPS, I know we can cheese it, right? Fine. But if you get somebody that's obviously, a wicked gear red paladin, but they got green, Pratt tank gear, and they're trying to tank as red, that's not going to work, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, that brings a whole slew of like messy combos that can come up. But I think most of the time, a lot of people they're you do queue by yourself. But generally, when I'm playing, I'm the type of guy. It's like I'll find one or two people I know, and if I can't fill in with the rest of the people I know, then you go to that group. Well, I say group finder or looking for group or whatever add-on or tool or world chat, whatever you're using to find players to fill in the rest of your accompaniment. You get them then and you sort it out on your own. But if you've got, the majority vote. And the other thing, too, that brings in that just struck my mind is, and I'm sure they probably have this resolved, being as the tool's coming partially from retail, is the exploitation of a tool like this. You're like, okay, we'll get to the boss, and when the thing drops, like, we'll just all vote to kick that guy, and you can get the loot kind of situation. Like, I certainly hope that those protections are put in place as well.
Yeah, I definitely hope that that's not the meta, because you will get people that come in. My buddy's a plateware, I'm a plateware. Oh, we got this guy, he's a pug, and something drops that you guys really need, you vote kick him, right? To me, that's just ridiculously wrong. So, hopefully, Blizzard learns from the mistake that they made. I mean, it's we all went through it originally. I mean, I went through it originally. I don't know about you guys, but I think hopefully they listen and they learn. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, here's another interesting thing chat's bringing up is wasn't there a 10-minute wait for the requeue if you left a group when using the finder? And
It was 15 dungeon deserter.
15 dungeon deserter. It was kind of like the battleground deserter.
Yep.
That's
very similar. Yeah.
That's painful. If you're getting forced, like say you go in solo, totally blind by yourself, right? And you go into this and you've got 4 guys that are totally random to you, and you suddenly discover that 2 of these guys are friends. The one guy, queued to something he shouldn't have, and the other guy is, well, he's a few crayons short of the Crayola box, right? And you're like, you've wiped 4 times on a sub difficult, like the below level content or something. It's just super easy, a farm thing, and you're dying left and right. You're like, dude, I got to get out of here. Like, if you leave that, you shouldn't be penalized. That's like a train wreck.
It's like going to do the trash in Untitled, and people get in there and they wipe to the trash, the spider trash, and people like immediately bail. And I'm like, dude, the trash is harder than the boss. You should know the instance. When you've done it a billion times, and for people just you'll get a lot of that. You'll get a lot of insta bails, like you die on trash, insta bail. You'll see that.
That's a retail mentality, right?
Yep.
Seeing that, because again, as some of the people from my community know, there was a break between private servers and the classic launch where I played a portion of retail, was leveling up, and I made a specific effort using this tool, finding groups. Like, okay, let's see how long it takes to get someone to talk to us, and it was like 4, 5, 6 groups where I'm like, hey, how's it going? What's up, guys? What are you, trying to engage people in conversation and get absolutely zero response.
Exactly our point.
Yeah, I was.
Our points to right to the max. That totally kills the entire social aspect.
I briefly started leveling a druid on retail, and I got into a dungeon at like, I was like 12, 13 when they start letting you queue, and I got in. I was just like, yo, hey, what's up? Or like whatever. Just like my normal thing I would say in like a TBC dungeon, just like hello or whatever, and just nothing. And I would just like occasionally say something like throughout the entire dungeon. I was like, I think one person said something else because we lost our way or something, but like it was almost zero social interaction at all.
They almost think that you're weird if you even say anything.
Yep.
Like, what is this guy talking to us for?
What the fuck is this guy doing?
Let's kick him
weird
out.
talking.
This is being weird. Kick him out.
Fucking pull, man. Just do tank. Don't fucking talk. Tank.
That's another funny thing too when you look at it. It's like there was times like I was just like, you know what? I'm like, I'm just gonna queue for a raid. I have no idea what it was. It's just I just picked a raid that I could get into on retail, queued up for it, and went in the raid. No one says anything. They go down to the boss, and I'm like, I signed up as a tank. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just like, let's go.
Yep.
And
It's designed for you not to know what you're doing and still do it.
Yeah, and like I just was like, I want to see. And it was funny because no one says anything, and then like suddenly I was just out of the group. And I'm like, apparently I got kicked. Like it was so funny. But it also, the point of this is it also is a way to eliminate further social activity, because there's no discussion. There's no like, hey man, like you can pull this over here, or hey dude, you got to stay out of the fire, or do this, or XYZ, or this is the thing. There's none of that. It's just
well, it's expected you just know, and if you don't
All
know,
I
they'll
can-
just kick you and find somebody who does.
Yeah.
It's just
All I
like
can say
they
to that
replace you
doc
like
is
that.
welcome to Raid Finder, dude, because that's pretty much what Raid Finder
Yep.
is.
That's what it was. It's just funny, and like back to what Alodar was talking about. This being what a lot of people argue was the beginning of the end. In this discussion here, I'm seeing a lot of points. It does very much look like the beginning of a lot of the features that evolved into what is in retail now. You're talking about the finder, the porting to one location or another. Having the vote tool to kick people out, making all the content 10 or 25 man options, and then they're putting in the hard mode options and things like that. Now, so you're seeing some of these things that have just trickled into or evolved into what is currently offered in retail. But not to say, that aside, I do really like that a lot of the raids, they have the 10-man option and they have the 25-man option. I've always been an advocate of like bigger raid teams. 40-mans are fun to me. I always enjoy the RP aspect of a huge army of, companions
But it's like herding cats,
trying
though.
to slay a dragon, right? Versus 10 guys going into a hole and killing an oversized snake or something, right? It just doesn't have the same gameplay fantasy factor to me as the 40-man raids do. It's like analogy I've used several times is if you watched Lord of the Rings, the original 3 movies, and you've got this giant battle scene. So how much less impactful would that be if there was 7 guys in the middle of that field fighting each other versus like thousands of orcs and trolls and stuff?
It would be Lord of the LARP instead of Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah. But I do think it's nice that it's there. It does make for better playability for different demographics of people, but at the same time having the hard mode option is nice, and then having the battle specific are they call I don't remember the terminology. Is it achievements that they call them for the succeeding in certain fights, like don't do XYZ during the fight, or
it's the achievements.
Those fall into the achievement categories, which again I think those are really, some people are like achievements are dumb. I think achievements are great, but the problem is the way people use achievements with the link achievement.
Don't get me started.
How am I supposed to do it if I can't get in there and I don't have the achievement?
Yeah, there is.
That whole thing started with the AOTC stuff, and I remember back in the day, if you didn't have AOTC, you were garbage. Like you couldn't even get into a raid unless you linked your AOTC, and it was huge. AOTC is ahead of the curve for those of you who don't know. Basically, an achievement that means that I killed the boss on heroic, while it was still current content. They didn't have mythic back then, obviously, but and then you get the achievements in places like Uldular, with the hard mode achievements and stuff like that. And, you get a 25-man Yogg 4 lights, and you go in there to do Yogg Saran, and if you don't have this achievement, they don't even let you in the group. It's, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
You got something similar to that with Warcraft logs, though. Like, we have, I can't even tell you.
Eye level and logging, and, oh, my God, the whole thing turns me off.
I can't even tell you how many people we've had apply that have not finished, they've not finished the current content or stuff like that, and you have to really kind of know how to dig through the logs to get a sense of whether or not the person's a decent player or not. So I've got one guy who is a priest in our guild, but just with the way he was playing in the previous content, I could tell he was a really good priest, and it was worthwhile to pick him up. But there's other players that have cleared all the content, but they're obviously performing pretty poorly compared to they'll tell you they're in a crappy guild or whatever, but then you go and check the guild's logs, and
did they have the stretcher achievement? The stretcher achievement for being carried?
That's great. The stretcher achievement. Yeah,
I would take
go ahead.
someone that would do the content correctly, DPS well, CC when they're told to CC, and basically follow the lead of the raid leader. That's what you're supposed to do to be good, and then your DPS and everything comes on top of that, right?
Oh yeah, we've had guys who DPS extraordinarily well, but then when you go check their logs, like our raid leader will check their logs, and they'll be like, "Oh, this guy's not doing any of the CCs." Like, obviously, they're getting other people to do that.
Yeah.
He's just getting his parse and stuff. So,
Yeah.
generally, that's kind of frowned upon, at least with us, anyway.
That's one of those things, and this is kind of sidetracking from everything. When you're looking at people's this whole thing where an emphasis on parsing meters, parsing. Are you a 99 parse? Like, do this, link that. I want to see your like all these stats and things. And like, I get people want to validate that the player they're getting is a capable and competent player, but it's funny. And you just mentioned people trying to acquire quality players, and then looking at those things, and then you look at their logs and you see, oh, this guy's just not doing any of his other required tasks, right? And from a management standpoint, I found something like that. It's always been like, you gotta designate a week for people and rotate them through. Like, okay, this is your parse week, so you tell people they have this time frame. Like, okay, you don't need to do anything but DPS. Everyone else picks up the spells this week, and some of that I think will be helpful in that it allows the players to have their moment to do that, and it also says a stronger designation to follow the task when given in a certain encounter. And the thing is, I think it's fun because if they're supposed to be parsing that week, you can then stack them in the group that's appropriate without hurting your raid comp. Give them all those bonus benefits if you've got your PI or your whatever, your buffs and that kind of stuff. And you can give them that opportunity and then give someone else the opportunity next week. So it allows your group to be successful by following the mechanics, because most fights and encounters are designed where people can pick up the slack. Someone could be dead. It can happen. Those kind of things. And I think it's a good solution to dealing with that type of what I would say problem. But yeah,
I think people have to understand too that Wrath, even though it's one of the best expansions that exists in my opinion, the raids are not harder. The mechanics are there, the rating is there, but the power creep is real, and eventually people are gonna blow the dungeons up.
Mhm.
But I think the big thing is people have to, like, I've never been a 99 parser, guys. I'll be honest. You'll never see me have a 99 parse. I was always in the 80s and maybe 92 at the most. But I guarantee you, if I was assigned a CC target, it was CC'd constantly.
Mhm.
I sacrificed DPS to keep the raid alive. And a lot of people don't do that. And I understand the whole mentality of being like top 100 DPS on the server, whatever like that. But if you do that and your raid leader, like Alodar said, he looks at the logs and you've been healing yourself standing in fire the whole time, you're not
I was
actually a
just
good
gonna
healer.
say that.
Or if you're
Yeah.
DPSing and not focusing on anything else, you're not a good DPS.
Standing in the fire to heal yourself for a parse is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Like,
Yep.
you're like, in my mind,
Yeah.
you're like the
You
like
see it.
ugh.
Mhm.
I mean,
see-
I've seen people do it. I mean,
You
it
see,
happens.
you see that in videos all the time, though. Like when you're saying, I won't mention where in the world they're from, but there's certain guilds from certain parts of the world that they notoriously have healers, or they have people that you can see them in their videos that are bouncing in and out of the fire, so that their healers can keep healing them over and over again. Like and that's how they get these outrageously enormous parses.
Mhm.
There's certain particular bosses where you can really kind of amp up your parse by deliberately not um, uh, doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like, for example, Muru. If you want to kill Muru as fast as possible, your DPS should be focusing on Muru for the first phase until the first Void Sentinel comes out, and then you swap over to that, right? Quite often as a Warlock, like me, you're casting Seed of Corruption into Muru. Well, that's not killing Muru any faster. That's so that you get your parses up. You're killing the humanoid mobs as they're running in and stuff like that. So you're doing way more damage. Technically, as a Warlock, you probably should not be doing that. But if you want to actually compete for parses, you are doing that. Like, I haven't been doing it generally, but now we're just kind of like, we kill this boss so easily. Let's just destroy everything and really ramp up our DPS. But
Mhm.
That's a different story when you got on farm, but when you're actually progressing, that's that's hugely detrimental.
Yeah, you're trolling your raid if you're doing stuff like that. To be honest.
And that's
Yeah.
another point that what I was saying earlier is like you can always pick a week to let if you got one healer and he's just one of those guys that loves parses, fine, dude.
Yeah.
Go stand in the fire and blow every single cooldown you have, as long as you're keeping the tank alive too. Whatever, it's your week to do it. You know what I mean? And that solves some of that too. But at the same time, like it makes me want to like smack myself in the face with a frying pan when I hear that that's the solution that people come up with is stand in there, take more damage so you can parse harder. Which some of this whole conversation we get sidetracked a lot from where we were talking about the Wrath stuff, but it brings me back to some of my personal plans for Wrath of Lich King, right? Like I've done. Again, if you followed my community, you've been in my community, like I've had an extended period of time where I've led a guild, done main tanking, done the high parses, done all the awesome classic content that I'm super big fan of. And my TVSP experience was much different than that for a variety of reasons. And I argue that it's the game design. I argue that it was the group that I ended up electing to play with. And then I argue that there's some other things that just went into there as well. But all that aside, my plan is to take a completely different approach for Wrath of the Lich King, where I'm overdoing the parses, I'm overdoing all these high-end, this and this and this, and pump that and everything else. Now, obviously, there's nothing wrong with doing that. That's perfectly fine, and I expect people, that I'm going to play with to do well. But I have a group of people that have kind of gotten together, and I think are somewhat like mentality, and the Flames with us, and I think Storm's got some characters that are in the guild as well. And we're just going to be setting up a very small squad of people to be in not a guild, and it's essentially I've just set out like, look, show up with the proper spec, make sure you have enchants and proper gems and that stuff, very simple things, and just come have fun, and we will do our best to kill things. I don't care if we kill everything, I don't care if we wipe 10 times. I just want to throw back a couple of beers, have fun, get through the 10-minute content. If we have enough players, cool, we can do the 25s, do some heroics and stuff, but just a very much more relaxed interaction with the game. And I think that's something that's just going to make it personally more entertaining and more enjoyable for me, as well. I've had an experience, wasn't a big PvPer until I decided to do some in Psalm, and I had a blast playing with the players until getting to the upper echelon of rank 13 into closing in on rank 14 and finding out all of the fundamental mathematical and botting / piloting problems that exist within the classic ranking community. So I hope to be doing some PvP, which that will no longer be a problem as well. But that said, that's kind of what I'm shooting for over on Mancraft, to just have like a squad of I don't want to say dad gamers, but more relaxed,
like-minded individuals.
Yeah, like-minded individuals. What about you guys? I know, Alodar, you've got some big things going for Tyrants, right?
Yeah, we've I guess been known as a semi-hardcore guild with a bit of sweat. We want to kind of ramp up that sweat a little bit. I wouldn't call us maybe a hardcore guild. We're not going to be doing splits or anything like that. But we've got 2 full raids that are looking to full clear week 1 every phase, if not maybe even night 1. And right now we're kind of looking through adding a couple of real gamers, basically. We're looking for people, obviously, that are looking to play hard, looking to sweat a little bit. And we've got a couple of spots available for, 1 for a tank and a couple DPS spots. And actually, of all things, a Resto Shaman, which is odd because all throughout TBC, all they wanted were Resto Shamans. Resto Shamans, and we've always had between 5 and 6. All of our shamans are swapping specs or swapping classes. Well, they're all swapping classes. Wow. And we didn't have a Resto Shaman left over, and we're only going to be taking 1 shaman to start off with. So oddly enough, we actually have a spot for a Resto Shaman. I don't feel that it's going to be hard to find a Resto Shaman because there's going to be a lot of shamans that are suddenly looking for a raid group. A lot of raids are going to be going from 6 shamans down to 1, maybe 2. So there's going to be some people looking for some spots. So I think we'll be able to find some. But yeah, basically we just kind of want to amp it up and finish off Classic with a bang and have something to look back at, to be proud of. We don't want to just be raiding. Tyrants, as many of you know, were built as a world PvP guild to begin with. It was something that I started as more or less just kind of an offhanded joke comment on stream once, where I said, "Hey, let's go over to one of these faction and balance servers, play on the lower pop side, and just level PKers and just roam around." And I thought it was gonna be like 4 or 5 of us. It turned into a guild almost large enough. Well, we had 2 full raids running at one point. And I mean, there's videos of us, if any of you are interested, there's videos of us just sitting outside of AQ40, just wiping raid after raid after raid, and we were easily the most hated guild on the server. We want to get back to our PvP roots, and we're going to have PvP nights with battlegrounds and stuff like that for the guild. And some of us are even talking about possibly swapping some characters over to another server. And
Watch out, Benediction.
Where are you guys at right now?
we're on Fairlina right now.
Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like that's a good story there, man, for your squad. Do you think there's going to be a lot of the winter grass changes, right? That's something we touched on some of the other changes. What do you think about that? Are you guys going to be pushing big on winter grass at all, doing that kind of stuff, gain access to the raid content, or just as a new BG being there? Is it something that you think is going to be entertaining for you guys?
I think it's going to be awesome, man. Originally, if you're on a faction imbalance server, always one faction has it, and you never have a chance to get it. So the good thing is they're gonna make it instance, which I think is going to be amazing, because you'll have more than one going on at a time. And I think the other big thing is I don't know if for 100% if it's faction imbalanced. If, say, for example, we're on Mancrick and it's like 99% Horde and the 1% Alliance, if they can get their own instance version, but who are they going to play against? That's what I'm concerned about. Is it going to be, Horde versus Alliance, same server, or are they going to cross server match them with somebody else? I mean, I can see it being fantastic if they do it right. If they do it wrong, it's going to be empty. But they got to do it right.
I think they'll get it filled, and it'll be going off regularly.
Yeah.
As far as getting enough bodies in there and that kind of stuff.
Well, it's cross server. They've changed it to be cross server now.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to do same factions on the same server, or did they change it?
No, I from what I understand, it's cross server now, and they've made some sort of what's the word, technology or whatever, where when you fly in, it'll kind of phase you to another phase, whatever, and you'll see people from other servers, as if Wintergrass was working as it was intended to originally, but it'll actually fill up the zone. It'll just be with players from other servers, because obviously not always going to be enough people on a server to fill it up. So yeah.
Hopefully it works, because Wintergrass is fun when you do it right, and you're running the way it should be. You should always, like, it shouldn't have like a 6-hour cooldown like it used to have. I think it was like half a day or whatever it used to be on the server I was on anyway. If they had it running instance constantly, I think that would be much better.
Ideally, yeah.
I would think that might even be the way it ends up playing out, right? Because if you're phasing in, either every single battle group has to be on the exact same timer, which then means you're limited of your available access to it. Like if you're working when the first one goes off, and then you've got to be in bed by the time the next one kicks off, like you've missed it. So they're gonna have to do something where I bet you it's probably gonna be, once they have enough bodies in there from whatever battle group, it'll just pop off. And whether
like, almost like Alterac Valley, the same way Alterac Valley was launched.
But you might end up with like the because from what I understand, it's gonna give a buff to gain access to the raid. That what might happen is that buff just might have a cooldown or something. Like, you get the buff and you can only get that once every so often or something, but the event will continue happening constantly. That's something I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if I haven't heard, or I actually haven't looked into specifically if that's something that's gonna to work that way, but I would imagine based off the description and information you guys provided there that it's probably going to.
I hope so. I think it's going to be a huge battleground. Way more important. Like, to me, for example, I like Alterac Valley and I like Wintergrass, but like Strand of the Ancients, stuff like that. I was never a big fan of Capture the Flag, so I'm not a big Warsong Gulch fan. I mean, I'll do it if I need the honor, but I much prefer the actual fight battlegrounds where you go from place to place to place fighting.
Yeah. Well, again, and that's something that, I don't remember the objective requirements for Winter's Grass, because I don't know that I honestly did it more than 1 or 2 times, maybe when original Wrath came out. But that I hope it doesn't turn into what AV is, all right, 37 people run immediately to the end. 5 people stop along the way, kill the towers, and then there's like those 5 guys off in the freaking, Harpy Cave or something. Like that's it.
Well, you're gonna have Wintergrass. Basically, you have to gather resources. So you basically have to go and get like for Alliance, you have to get like what do you call them, the siege engines and stuff like that. Same with Horde. And then you have so many people do that, and then you have so many people assault the towers, and you have so many people assault the gate. And then it sort of like flows into each other. And then in each little area, you'll have groups. I used to call them gank squads. So, for example, you'll have geared warriors and stuff run down to a specific place and destroy everybody. So it actually is fun. You're running around with like mini gank squads. It's very much fun.
Yeah, I look forward to that. My experience in the Season of Mastery PvP, made me have a good taste for it. So that's something that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I plan on my warrior that I'm currently leveling. I hope to do some arenas and climb the ranks in there, because the warrior is supposed to be very strong in arena with that spell reflect and arms and fury is just supposed to blow people up, and it's not very complicated to play, because honestly I'm not really much of a PvPer in World of Warcraft. I've never been my playstyle, but
you will be.
Make sure you have your sword and board macros.
Yeah,
Once
exactly.
Once you get started, you will be.
Yeah. Well, it's I've never enjoyed it much in the past because of people, funny enough, like rogues, where they just endlessly sap, gouge, blind, whatever the fuck. It's like, right, I'm not playing the game now, and I'll just die.
Diminishing returns for the win.
Yeah, it's been not always the most fun experience, but I'm gonna delve into arena this time, since Wrath will very likely, depending on what Blizzard does after Wrath will likely be my swan song to World of Warcraft to wrap things up. So
I think I'm in that same boat too. I mean, I've said this a couple of times in recent history. I said I don't see anything that they could potentially do that's going to interest me to continue to play any type of classic content.
Classic Plus. That's the only thing I'd be interested in.
Beyond Wrath. But you saying Classic Plus? That's the only thing that would maybe consider.
Another expansion
is that Classic Plus. I don't have faith that they'll do it correctly. I don't have faith that they'll do it right.
There's no chance I'm interested in Classic Plus. I don't know how anyone could ever believe that Blizzard could actually do any development and actually make the game better.
Yeah,
unless they brought back the original.
We had Classic Plus. It was called Season of Mastery. It was an absolute disaster. Look at what happened.
They did it really badly.
That's the point, though. Look at exactly what happened when you allowed Blizzard to develop vanilla. They turned it into Season of Mastery, and it was an absolute shit show. Are we allowed to say that word?
Yeah, you can say.
Sure, why not?
Okay, I just want to make sure. Sorry. That's what happens when you allow Blizzard to develop these games. So the only thing that I would be interested at all in playing after Wrath is vanilla.
Classic era.
No, vanilla. Not classic era, vanilla. Classic era. Like every time I hear some idiot, this is the first response. I always get some Nimrod who's like, "Well, you've already got classic era, dude." That's not the same as vanilla. And anyone who says that is an absolute idiot. If you've said that on my stream, you are an absolute fucking moron. Okay, like that is not the same thing. Classic era is not the same as vanilla. The only thing I would be interested in playing right now is vanilla again. And you're already starting to see a resurgence of people begging for vanilla to come back. I have no doubt. People are talking about, they're going to go to Cataclysm. Why would they go to Cataclysm? 90% of the classic community hates Cataclysm.
They left.
But you know what? That in itself is enough evidence to prove that Blizzard will actually go to Cataclysm, because they do something stupid. So instead of acknowledging that, hey, our oldest version of the game is the best version, and we're gonna go and just relaunch vanilla again for all these people that want to play it again, even though they can't believe it, they'll give us another one of those lines you think you do but you don't, BS. But that's what people are wanting to play, and you're already seeing it with these private servers that are coming out, like Everlook and stuff. Like they're going to be, it's Everlook, for those of you that don't know about Everlook, it's going to be the largest private server that has ever launched at launch. Like it is going to be bigger than Northdale, than Lights Hope, than Nostalrius at launch, than any of those were.
But of course, we're not advocating anybody play on those places. We're just talking about the fact that they exist.
No,
Yeah.
I am. Go ahead. You should play. They're very, very good versions of the game. And I honestly think that you're going to see people, if they don't come out with vanilla, you're going to have another resurgence of private servers and a lot of people going back to playing private servers. And if they don't come out with vanilla after Wrath, if they go to Kata, I'll be playing on a private server. There's no doubt.
Yep.
If I'm playing, I'll be playing on a private server.
Here's the thing to just add on to exactly what you said is anyone that calls what the classic relaunch was, it's not. It's not right because they give you and this is I won't go through the whole tirade, but the most watered down version of the game with the most overpowered version of the gear and talents without any kind of progressive itemization through the content. So you're getting all of these really strong things right at the very beginning. And it's not that it's hard, and it's not hard even without them. The thing is, it's just different, right? It's different. And the way you want to play it is like I enjoy, knowing this thing's coming up and having like, oh, you want to get this item, or you're gonna edge masters, or you're gonna have XYZ becomes available, or the class quests come in, and making sure you pick the right trinket and all that kind of stuff is just things that it's fun to know about and enjoy progressing through the game in that manner versus what they gave us. And I think that I've had that argument with you over and over again, but yeah, that was Alodar. I think you're right on that, man. And the thing is the consensus of this, in my opinion, I think, is that most of us would not find an interest in anything other than, like you said, a proper relaunch. And even if they did fresh,
I would like to postulate, right? I would like to postulate a very tinfoil hatty, rose-colored glasses, just like maybe Blizzard will pull their head out of their ass. 99% of chance they won't.
Once it's sold to Microsoft, they'll pull their head out of their ass.
Yeah, but tinfoil hatty, right? Let's see if this right. There's if they were to release like right, we have Wrath of the Lich King, okay, and then we have like a split of timelines, okay. So instead of Cataclysm, they make an entire instead of Cataclysm and going down that stupid path, they release an entirely different expansion based on the quote unquote values and things that they're trying to keep with classic. Because they have a lot of loose story ends. They could still bring the story back to Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, and it would center around those two main masses, similar to how Cataclysm was, except without the Maelstrom. Because we have the Scarlet Crusade, which thematically, and the Draenei, but also Scarlet Crusade would be a perfect staging point off from Wrath of the Lich King. So how I envision this, right, is we have the Scourge Invasion, the whole Lich King, that whole bullshit going on, but the Scarlet Crusade, right? They really hate the undead, so they see everything that's going on. They say, "Wait a minute, this is getting fucked. We need to do something." And so now we have this like Scarlet. They like start expanding, right? And they start pushing more into Lordaeron. And they start pushing more into like Elven forests. They're like, "Well, Stormwind can't fucking take care of this, so we need to step in." So that would give an excuse for the Alliance to step in. And so now we could have this whole Scarlet Crusade raid, and we could go figure out what's going on with the big ass portals in like Duskwood to the Emerald Dream. And there's like several empty zones. We could have Hyjal. We have a non-Kata version of Hyjal and whatever the fuck's going on there. Like if they were to do an opposite, a different storyline after Wrath expansion, I would be down for that. Now, obviously, tinfoil hat, they probably won't happen in the fucking Blizzard, that bullshit.
The confidence is not there.
Yeah, it's like this would be amazing, and I would love it, and this would keep me playing. Most likely won't do it, but
I think without the original dev team, that shit's not going to happen.
Yeah,
and
You're actually asking Blizzard to put money into developing the classic version of the game.
They would make money though. If they fucking did this, they would make hand over fist money if they did it right.
They're making
hand over fist
money
already.
now.
Yeah.
They would make even more money.
Yeah, they already get paid, dude. Microsoft already bought them. Like it's already done.
I don't think they would make more money. I think you'd lose people if Blizzard started developing the game. You'd actually lose the core classic community, and they'd be like, "I'm not playing this." And then you've got a bunch of players that are not playing it and spending all this money on developing it. I don't think
it was good retail games.
Well, it all hinges on it being actually good, though.
Yeah, I think anything like that would like you said, it would have to be good, and it had to be handled in the right way. And I think a lot of that comes with the way they pitch to the community and
exactly,
what the community is going to think and take on that. But again, it all boils down. I think almost unanimously, I would say, with us, and speak up if otherwise, none of us have confidence that Blizzard can do it right.
No, it's a
And-
pipe
So
dream.
in a
but-
perfect
That's the case.
scenario, they roll back to original classic again, launch original classic, and then go through again to Cataclysm. Is that what you guys are saying would be the
You
best
mean
course of action?
to Wrath, you mean, Flame?
Yeah, right to Wrath. At the end
I
of
wouldn't.
Wrath, you
I
roll back
likely
and you
wouldn't
start
play
over
again personally.
And we do have 30
I
years
wouldn't-
in this game.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't play TBC and Wrath again, but I definitely play Vanilla again. But
Yeah.
as far as Blizzard developing any other content for World of Warcraft, when was the last time Blizzard developed anything for any of their IPs that has actually been decent? Like we can talk about their
They haven't.
mobile game. You can talk about Season of Mastery. You can talk about their last few expansions for retail. You can talk about their Warcraft Reforged. Like they have not actually put out one decent piece of anything in forever. Diablo? Are you talking about Diablo 4? Diablo Immortal?
Yeah.
Like
Diablo
It-
Mobile.
it's
Yeah.
a hot it's a hot mess, man. Like what's the last piece of like anything that they've ever put out that has been decent? Like
Yeah.
Hearthstone when it first came out. That was
yeah,
years
well,
ago.
well, Go ahead and finish your point, Alodar. and
No,
then
that's my
we'll
point though.
jump.
Like I can't be bothered to listen to them with any of their development. Even like Dragonflight,
Yeah.
they've made one change that I'm like, okay, this is interesting. That's going back to their trees. The rest of it kind of looks like a hot mess. Like, I don't have any faith that this expansion is going to be better than Battle for Azeroth or Shadowlands. Like, why
Welcome
would
to
anyone have any faith?
Dragonflying. We've had that
There'll be
since
more people
original
playing
TBC.
Wrath than
It
there
might
will
be
be
better than
Dragonflight.
Shadowlands, but that's not saying much.
There'll
Yeah,
be more people playing Wrath than there will be Dragonflight, I think.
Oh,
And that was a
100%.
conversation
guaranteed.
that Aldar had
Guaranteed.
100%.
earlier.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, and I made this point in my stream, and I had people on my stream thinking I was crazy, and I'm like, there are more people that have played TBC than played Shadowlands, and I think day one of each expansion, whether it's Wrath of the Lich King or Dragonflight, you will have more people playing Wrath of the Lich King day one than day one of
You should look at
Dragonflight.
logs. Like there's like hundreds of thousands of logs for Sunwell, and there's like less than 10,000 logs of the last raid of Shadowlands. It's like
I don't even think
It's
of
night
that.
and
I
day.
think people just are tired of them failing over and over and over again.
well, it's just
And they
less people
just
playing
want-
it. Yeah.
They just don't want the retail experience. I'm sorry. You know,
Yeah.
No.
it's just not the way to go. You want to keep this game alive, you keep the classic experience running. And I'm not talking about Wrath Classic, you know, and all the other classics after that. I'm talking about going back to the basics and doing what works.
You know, we're talking about the vision we see with the way Blizzard is developing the game and or what they've developed with retail and the way they've treated the classic experience and the things that have happened. And, you know, again, we've talked about the fact that a lot of us are not really interested in anything beyond the Wrath experience that's going to be brought, or if we played, you know, maybe playing vanilla over again, just releveling different classes and experiencing that content from a different vantage point. But with that being said, it's one of the reasons why, you know, and those again from my community have heard me say many times, the game that I've put on, yes, it's been in development for like 8 years or whatever, but I'm desperately hoping that it comes to fruition. Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, you know, because as a group here, we've talked about this, and you know, we want to have interest in not only talking about World of Warcraft content, but considering what other games are coming in the future and what kind of things that they have to offer. And, you know, the biggest thing that drew me to Pantheon originally was the fact that it was being, you know, spear-pointed by Brad McQuaid, who was, you know, a big factor in the way the original EverQuest game came out and was developed. And I liked a lot of the things that game had in it. And that made me have this appeal for Pantheon, which is an upcoming MMO being created by Visionary Realms. They have a small team, and it's going to be something that's going to, I think,
It's expanded.
It's still a small team. It's not a
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
a massive
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not on
organization.
Amazon Studios yet.
Yeah, it's
No,
not
of
an
course
Amazon
not. No,
Studios
no.
production.
But they're
or
getting
something like
bigger.
that. But
Yeah.
yes,
There was an
they
update
are.
recently.
They did get a new influx. I think it was like $2 million something from Co
Yeah,
Carnage.
yeah.
Who Co Carnage is a streamer here on Twitch as well, who's a big advocate for the game, and he's done a lot of things for them. But I would encourage you guys out there, you know, to take an opportunity to look at Visionary Realms. They're making Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. It's going to be, you know, an MMO that's got a lot of features that I feel will fit well as far as, you know, the classes being unique and having powerful skills that are fun. and innovative. You know, they have a whole player versus environment concept, and I don't mean player versus environment as far as, you know, player versus killing a monster. It's this area is like exceptionally cold, and you have to work with their acclimation system, which is getting used to those areas are coming. I'm assuming there's going to be some gear-based things and, you know, spells and stuff that allow you to traverse certain areas that have these unique features to them. You know, lots of different smart AI within the NPCs, as far as, you know, the proper helping, assisting, buffing, debuffing, cleansing each other, all those kind of neat things that you do see a lot of. But I think this is supposed to be, or purported to be, at a stronger level. And the progress I've seen them make over the years has just been impressive to me, from where it came from when I originally looked at some of their initial, you know, programming and images and screenshots and stuff, up to what they have now. The biggest lackluster thing, I think, is some of the way the combat looks. It does have nice particle effects and things like that, but the character models and things, I think, are still being developed out and fleshed out for a better combat experience. But it's going to be interesting. So, I mean, that's something I've been following along on the sidelines. I do have a couple of YouTube videos about it, and I'm hoping to get some more of those made. But just a shout out to that, guys. And I don't know, you guys have been following some other games as well. I know Alodar's up with Ashes of Creation a bit.
Same, me with Ashes. Yep.
Yeah, Ashes of Creation is the one that's really, really big on my list. I bought into the early alpha, so Alpha 1 or whatever, so I got to play it. Considering the stage that it was at in development, I was extremely excited after playing it. There obviously wasn't a lot to do in the way of quests or how high up in level you could get, but the way the game felt all right. At the time, it was being developed in Unreal Engine 4. They've since swapped everything over to Unreal Engine 5, which has allowed them to basically fast track the development of the game. And they brought in a lot of other really amazing features, like one of them, like the environment changing or seasons in the game, which to this day I still can't believe that other games haven't done. Where
virtual
like
seasons,
winter hits and suddenly there's snow, and it's not like suddenly you open up the game and suddenly an hour later there's 10 feet of snow on the ground or anything like that. Like it happens over the course of many days, type of thing. Like you can feel the season changing. They'll have player housing. You'll have empires, like basically like guilds that run towns or whatever. And every map is going to be different. It's called basically it's called the Sandbox Theme Park MMO, and basically it's a mix between the theme park MMO, which is like like a World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy, and a sandbox MMO, which is basically something completely different, where it's basically player driven, something like EVE Online or something like that. And if you've watched the Lazy Peons video on that, that's actually where I'm ripping off this content from. If you haven't seen anything on Ashes of Creation, Lazy Peon did a video on it, like, I don't know, a week ago
on YouTube, right?
On YouTube. I would strongly advise you go watch it, and he will show you all the stuff that they're doing. A lot of the stuff that he talks about, you might be like, no, come on, this is way too big. There's no way they're going to be able to do all of this. They already had a lot of this stuff implemented in early alpha. So like the town building and all this other sort of stuff, it was already implemented in early alpha, and you were already able to experience this sort of stuff. And it running on Unreal Engine 5, it's going to be easier on your system to run. And it's also going to be, they're going to be able to develop it a lot faster. When I first was playing alpha, I thought, okay, this is probably still 4 years away. Now that they've upgraded to Unreal Engine 5 and they've explained how much it's fast-tracked their development, I wouldn't be surprised to see this game out in a couple of years, 2.5 years,
Yeah,
maybe,
for
or
sure.
something like that.
Yeah, my concern about Ashes of Creation, though, is that similar to, so there was Anthem that came out, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago now. That game was very flashy. It had a lot of really pretty things to it, but what it ended up being was like a mile wide pond that's an inch deep. And I'm really concerned that that's just what Ashes of Creation is going to be. It looks really pretty. Combat looks okay, but it looks. I'm concerned that that's another game where they're just capitalizing on. Oh, look at these beautiful graphics, and then it's a mile wide pond that's an inch deep, and it's just there's nothing to do within about a week or a month or whatever.
No,
I'm like Alodar. I've done a ton of research on this too, And I actually follow one of the guys that does all the media stuff for them, Paradox Gaming Network on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is amazing. He writes the wiki for it, and he
Right.
basically has an inside track to Steven and all the guys that run the game. And it won't be an inch deep. I can guarantee that. It'll be a mile deep when this game comes out, because they're not going to release it until it's perfect. They're not going to rush it out and then patch it and patch it and patch it.
Right, because they have the funding.
These guys are going to do it right. It's not
So-
even the funding. It's not even the funding. The thing is that they have a vision, and they want this game to be the best game possible at release. You know, they don't
Mhm.
want to be going back and patching it over and over again. So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to be very surprised if it's as good as I think it's going to be. And when Alodar said he got into the alpha, I was like, man, I wish I had gotten into the alpha, because it looks amazing even from the videos that I've seen. So I can't wait to try it.
I mean, I hope
Well,
it is.
I
I've just been burned.
Yeah, I had to pay to get into the alpha. Let's
Yeah,
let's
I
be clear
know.
about that. I had to pay to get in.
Yeah.
But the to me, it was worth it. It was content for the stream, and a lot of my followers pitched in for that. So I thank them. But there's I know maybe some people don't have much faith in Ashes of Creation, but there's a lot of stuff that you're going to be able to do. There's going to be a lot of inter-guild wars. To fight over cities, or just guild wars against each other and stuff like that. And if it's that's going to bring so much more than just your PvE go into a raid video game. Like the PvP aspect is going to be absolutely out
Have you
of
played,
I don't know this world.
I think the caravan system too is going to make it amazing. It's going to make it amazing. The PvP that's going to generate.
Yeah.
Have you played why can I not remember what it was? The Camelot game. So they had like the 3-faction PvP with keeps and stuff, Alodar.
Dark Ages of Camelot.
Yeah,
I've
Dark
played
Age.
that.
Yeah. And I'm not up on Ashes as much. Is that something? Does it seem like it's going to be, something kind of like
No.
that with these city battles and stuff, where there's a lot of in-depth and preparation and people, guilds defending and attacking? Because my brother played that and he said it was a fantastic amount of fun.
There's no factions in Ashes of Creation. There's different nodes around the map, which are locations where cities can be built. And based on where players are doing activities, doing quests, stuff like that, will determine how fast those cities get built up. So from one server to another, the cities that get built up into the largest cities in the area will be completely different than on one map, because some players might be focusing on one area on one server, and on another server it might be in a different area. So the larger cities will be in completely different areas, and it'll be also like determined based on what race is building the city, because it'll be those races building types that get built. So each of the cities themselves will actually look different. As far as warring goes, no, each there's no factions or anything like that. Like, you have a mayor of the town basically type of thing. They determine the tax rate and all that sort of stuff. If they're a tyrant and ramp up the taxes, whatever, they suffer the consequences of people abandoning the town and saying, fine, screw you, in which case he'll have no people to tax. So you got to be careful. But you can also buy player housing in that town. So if you buy a house and somebody declares war on your town, you've got a certain amount of time to prepare for it, probably a couple of days or something. But if you own property there, you're going to be more willing to actually come to the defense of that town than just say, oh, forget it. I don't have anything to lose here. So you don't want to lose your house, because if another group takes over your town, you lose your player housing as well.
That sounds kind of intense. It's
crazy.
Like there's a lot,
Yeah.
a lot to it, man. That's pretty cool.
So the I know you got it was the game you were talking about. I can't remember the name
Pantheon?
of it right now. Pantheon, yeah, they got a lot of their they had a lot of their people that were from Dark Ages of Camelot and stuff like that. But Ashes of Creation, it's the same thing. Like the guy who basically owns the company, Sharif, I can't remember his exact name right now, but his history is basically with games, Shadowbane, Ultima Online, stuff like that. Like, he's gone through the gamut of all the PvP games, and he's kind of grabbing a lot. Like, there's a game called Shadowbane where it was a lot of siege warfare, and you're going to see a lot of that in Ashes Creation, kind of like you were supposed to in There was another game that some of the developers.
ESO?
No, there was another game that came out. Anyway, I can't remember the name of it.
His name is
But they-
Steven, by the way. Alan.
Was it New World?
Steven
Steven Sharif, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
But yeah, I think there is so much to do in Ashes of Creation. It's not like a one-trick pony. There's numerous things that you're going to be involved in. But if you want to just role play that you're a blacksmith in a town, you're more than welcome to do that as well. They're not stopping you from doing that. But if you want to partake and rise up to become the mayor of a town and raise an army and attack other towns or declare war on other guilds, you can do that.
this strikes me. I was just thinking, I was like, oh, so it's not GTA RP. It's going to be Ashes or AC RP. You're going to have people like, oh, I'm the blacksmith of the town.
I think the
over
big
here.
difference. I think the big difference is not. You
That-
got to understand. This
that
is
would
not
be
World of
great.
Warcraft. This is a PvP world that you're going to be in full time. You can choose whether
Yeah.
to be a combatant or
Oh,
not, but
my.
I can still attack you and still kill you if you're not going to defend yourself. So it's a dog eat dog world, and you got to be prepared for that. There's no social contract.
That could be a hilarious and very entertaining opportunity for content right there. The totally sidetracking on that, because Ashes of Creation RP would be so funny if it plays out the way it sounds, especially if there's like a town battle going on. Bring out your dead. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
we'll
I
just
just
see how that
see the
goes.
humor in that, right?
Like the Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly. But
Return your body.
guys, I think, does anybody have any other kind of comments about the subject matter we covered this evening? I did have a couple other things I wanted to jump onto here in a second.
Nah, go ahead, man. You're good.
No?
Yeah, everybody that's been out here watching tonight, listening tonight, whether you got us on YouTube, whether you got us on Twitch, whether you're on one of the podcast platforms, thank you guys very much for taking the time to come out here and support us and show some love. We have yet to this would be the podcast that is yet to be named, but we do have intentions to continue making these periodically. Big shout out to the gentlemen that have joined us here tonight, guys. If you please would just announce your socials and stuff, where people can find you, and let them know who you are. So everyone, please take an opportunity. I am Docken_TV on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all the other platforms. You can find me under that name. And if you would sound off for me, fellas.
I'm Alodar at twitch.tv/Alodar, and you can find me there 6 nights a week from 9 p.m. Eastern until really late, except for tonight, because I'll be starting late because my download of the new House of the Dragons episode just ended. So we'll be delaying the
Nice.
stream until I finish watching that first. I don't want to get any any spoilers while I'm streaming.
Nice. Yeah,
And,
I'm Flamestrike. Let me go first, Storm. I'm Flamestrike, twitch.tv/Flamestrike, and then Flamestryketv on all other media. Go ahead, Storm.
And I'm Stormphrax. I'm here, Stormphraxtv at Twitch, and then Stormphrax on YouTube. I stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. So check me out there. And yeah.
And again, guys, thank you so much for all the awesome discussion and the efforts you guys put in this evening. Chat, thank you guys for being here. Please go show some love to these gentlemen in the most platonic way possible by going to their channels, giving them follow, sub, whatever it may be, and show them some love. Feel free to come back, join us at any of our locations to continue these conversations, and stay tuned for announcements about our next upcoming episode, which all of these episodes will include whatever we happen to be doing currently for our content and other games, as we touch on Ashes of Creation and Pantheon Rise of the Fallen this evening. So feel free to hit us up, give us suggestions, feedback, comments, and we'll see all of you for episode 2. Thank you very much.